to chip seal something.
All right. Hello. It is 5:30. We will call this meeting to order. I will start letting you know the mayor is out with a family member that's having a procedure today. So keep him and his family in your prayers today, please. Start with a call to order.
We'll start with Mayor Rodham, Mayor Pro Tem Perry,
Here.
Councilmember Caffey,
Here.
Councilmember Walker,
Here.
Councilmember Oliveris. Here. Councilmember Starnes,
Here.
Councilmember Melton.
Here. All right, if you would, join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dave? Thank you. You gonna?
For this week's invocation, you may be seated. Saturday, September 21st is the International Day of Peace. And on that evening at 8 p.m. at Wolf Park, we will be having our second annual Night of Peace. And in that theme, this evening, Leah Thomason is here with us for a musical invocation with that theme. Leah?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice surprise. Yeah, something different. We will jump into citizen communication. We have two signed up for non-agenda items, and I want to make sure the third one is signed up for an agenda item because I don't have an agenda item number with it. Rosalinda Braun. Is that actual agenda item that you wanted to speak on?
On general. Those concept.
Okay, well, I will let you go then in regular citizen communication then if it's not specific about a particular agenda item. First up is Mr. Willie Phillips. We have a 3-minute timer that goes off, and we'll let you know when that 3 minutes up. You're accustomed to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Did you sign up?
My name is Willie Phillips. I live at 709 Wright Street. And my concern is the citizens, it was brought to my attention this week that y'all are threatening to bring citizens to court because their trees are not cut around the power lines. And I think it's a hazard for the citizens to even be around the power line on the poles. You know, Encore, they send folks out to cut them. So I think what y'all should do is maybe get an ordinance together to give to them and let them know instead of leaving trees just looking crazy, just cut them top and bottom. Because that's what was this situation. They went in there and cut the top off the power cable, but they left down low, they just cut enough off the power line. So I think it's a hazard for the citizens to be liable for that action. I think I need to stop and think about it.
Thank you, sir. Next up, another one with the experience of the 3-minute rule, Miss Belinda Hillhouse.
Well, actually, I wanted to talk about our outgoing city manager, who's not our city manager anymore, but has been a very good person for us. A lot of you have not been here for years and years and don't know what's gone on, and you don't realize how good she's been. There are several things that she's done that are really good. We were going to have water. We still have water problems, and it's going to take a while to take care of them. We all know that. But under what the plan was, we were going to have 3 years of just engineering for $10 million. And then it was going to be several more years, and it was going to be a fortune that we were going to have to pay for this. And a lot of your taxes go toward debt, not just for the functioning of the city, because the city does have quite a bit of debt. And that would have been a whole lot more. Your water bills would have gone way up. She did that, and she also hired Gerald to be head of the Public Works Department, and he actually knows something about water, which is great. And he's doing a very good job with that, so that's a good thing that she's done. And speaking of taxes and debt and all that, she worked very closely with council and the former mayor to lower the tax rate, because we all know that we've got a lot of older people who are on fixed incomes, and city taxes are not frozen like some of the others. They have a tough time with it. Y'all didn't raise it very much, but and actually she didn't work with us. We asked her to do the work, and she did it. She and our former mayor and some of our financial people. But anyway, they did a good job on doing that. We did manage to get some raises, but we've had inflation. We need more money, that's true. And let's see, the other thing that I've really admired her about is how she kept her cool. When people were up here ranting and raving and calling her names, that is not freedom of speech. That is just flat meanness and not good manners. And she managed to just sit there and didn't engage with them. And I think that was a very hard thing to do. It would have been for me. I would not have been able to just sit there. And she's done a very good job with that. And we all owe her a lot of our appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda. All right, Mrs. Braun, you are up next.
Give me time because I have to get up.
Okay.
Thank you, baby. My name is Rosalinda Braun. I live at 515 East Belton. I can speak loud, and I can speak my piece. Like I said, I'm 70 years old. You talked about the trees. There's a lot of trees on Belton Street, yes.
Can you pull that down? Not necessarily for the people in here, but for the people online. Thank you.
The trees. There's a lot of trees that are out that's grown over the streets. They should have been cut by the city, not by us. Trees that are over the power lines, they should be cut by somebody and not by us. If you go through Belton, you'll see a lot of trees that are grown over. And I don't even have to say no more, because you could just go through Belton, you'll see it. Now, the next item is the roads. Now, we're looking at potholes. And I have to get my glasses on, so let me get them on. The potholes are causing the children to ride their bikes and falling on the streets because of the potholes. Children are walking or running, they're falling on streets because of the potholes. Children riding in cars and trucks, when they hit the potholes, they bite their tongue, they bite their cheeks. That's because of the potholes. Us older ones, we can't even go get the mail, and our mail is on the streets because not just the potholes, because they're all broken off. I have fell. I stayed on the street for 30 minutes to 45 minutes on the street, on the road. I was not able to get up. That wasn't because of me. I stayed on the streets. 2 cars later on came by and helped me up and took me in the house because of the bad roads and potholes. Now, cars and trucks are having to get repairs because they're off balance because of the potholes. I said something about the trees. You want to take care of our Rockdale and make it beautiful. Take care of the streets and the trees. We'll do the rest. We took care of the sides of the road, and that weren't even our road, but we took care of it. Potholes, we're trying to fill them up with dirt so we won't fall. We got so many people getting hurt because of the potholes, because of bad streets. Well, my time's up. I apologize for taking over, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have 2 presentations. Tim, are you going to lead that, or you want me to? Sure. Okay. The first one is recognize a donation by Mrs. Glenda Wiley.
If you notice in the back on the wall, there is a new map that we have displayed back there. That is a 1924 plat map of this area, and that was donated by Glenda Wiley. And is Ms. Wiley here tonight?
Yes. Carrie Allfield also.
Anything you can say about the map?
She's trying to tell you that Carrie also helped donate the map.
Carrie?
The only thing that I have about this map is his cousin went to an estate sale in Giddings, and she saw a box that had Rockdale on it. So she said, I'm gonna buy that box to see what's in it. Believe it or not, this is a copy of the original. She has the copy, but it had layers and all kind of things in it. So I just thought it was really important for Rockdale to have this.
Yeah.
What year is it from, does it say?
1924.
1924,
And
so
I
there's a lot
see
of history.
EA Camp, I see the guest, just people that we know that that had bought property. And it was an awesome map, so I thought y'all made it.
Thank y'all.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mayor Pro Tem, for those in the audience, as well as our new city manager, Tim Kelty, I would like to recognize Glenda. When I moved to town, Glenda was the face at the front of City Hall that greeted you when you came to town. I don't know how many years you served. I don't know if we said a proper goodbye when you left, but thank you for your service to the city of Rockdale and for the great work on the sesquicentennial.
All right. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Rachel Owens, who is going to, there she is, have a small presentation about the CASA organization.
I just want to let you guys know about an event that we are having. It's called Taste of Milam, and nothing like this has been done in Milam County, as far as I know, at this point. So what we have done is we have invited all of the folks that make things, food in our county, whether it is a brick and mortar, mom and pop, out of their kitchen, out of their food truck, to come to this event. It will be at the Rail Fan this Saturday, the venue at the Rail Fan in Cameron from 6 to 10 p.m. And we have businesses who have sponsored our local culinary folks, I guess if you want to call them, because we know that times are tough, and a lot of our smaller mom and pop places can't afford to just give us 250 samples of things that they are known for. in our county. So we have found business sponsors and other sponsors to cover that cost. So for those that are unable to donate, then our sponsors are covering the cost of the food so that they are not out anything. We also have volunteers that will be there amongst our advocates and our own board members because it's on a Saturday, which is one of the busiest nights for a lot of our restaurants. So we hate for them to take away from their own pockets to send their folks that work for them to help us. So we will have those folks there assisting. We will have a UTV that is being raffled off also, 6 handguns, over 50 silent auction items, and there is a purse, a wine, and a whiskey pull. And for the purse pull, we have a couple of Louis Vuitton handbags and then some other higher-end handbags for those that are interested in that. And David Hall with the other band will be there playing all night. It's $35 to enter. You get anything that you want to sample throughout the evening there. And then like Triple C Winery, the Thirsty Mule Distillery, and Schitt's Creek, but it's spelled SCHITTS, okay? I know, I like to say it quiet and hope nobody hears me. And a lot of our local vendors, we are trying to stay in Milam County, and so it's going to be a really awesome event, we hope, and our board has worked really hard for it, but our goal is to raise $50,000. We are given half of our funds. Our budget is probably around $125,000, and we have to raise half of those funds ourselves. We do receive $50,000 through a VOCA grant, which is Victims of Crimes Act grant, and so at this point, the rest we fundraise to get the things done that we need to get done. Am I time up?
No, I was going to.
Oh, you're looking at me. I'm like,
I was
wait,
going to ask you.
I'm talking real fast.
If you could talk a little bit about what CASA does.
Yes. CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. So when our kiddos are removed from their home or where they reside for whatever reason because it's no longer safe, they go into the court system. Sometimes they are placed in a foster home. Many times the foster home is in the county and out of the county because we have a shortage of foster homes in our county. They are placed with what we call kinship, which is people that are kin to them, aunt, uncle, or someone like that, or fictive kinship, which is a placement that might be a good family friend that they've known forever but is not really a relative. And so Judge Youngblood appoints one of our advocates who have been trained for over 30 hours to that case. And that advocate gets the one case at a time because they spend anywhere from 15 to 20 hours a month getting to know that child. They visit with the home that the child came from, where the child is placed, teachers, preachers, aunts, uncles, cousins, pastors, anyone who has anything to do with that child to find out what is best for that kiddo. Sometimes we agree with the recommendation of CPS and sometimes we don't. But Judge Youngblood really does take into account what our advocates say because the way that the system is set up, our CPS caseworkers, not because they don't want to or for lack of trying, but it is the system right now that our state has set up. They don't have the time to dedicate that much to each kiddo on each case. It's not feasible for them. So they can spend 15 minutes, an hour a month maybe with that kiddo, where our advocates get to spend more. So Judge Youngblood really relies on their opinion because they have been out and seeing what is best for the kiddo and just investigating and doing so much more for that child. And they're with that child, whether that case is 2 months or 5 years, the same advocate is with them. When you look at CPS, you have an investigator who does the investigation. Then once there is a removal, it goes to another caseworker. And then when it enters another field in CPS, so they all have different folks that they're involved with. So you have a child who is taken from what they know, even though it wasn't a good situation, and then all of these different people. But our CASA advocate is the same with them through the entire time until the case ends in the court system and they are either able to go back home because the issues are no longer there, or we find a safe placement in a forever home for them. Our goal is always reunification, but that isn't always the case. That's it. And my name, number, telephone, email is on there if you have any questions, but we'd love to see you guys from 6 to 10 on Saturday in Cameron.
I know CASA is an incredible organization and hopefully finds a lot of support at this event from Rockdalians.
Well, thank you. Well, we have around 5,300 youth in Rockdale, and over 1,200 of them have been through the CPS system. That is way, way too many, especially for the size of our community. It's a disgustingly high number, unfortunately. So one is too many, but we're working on that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm gonna pass this around. If you wanna take a picture of it or whatever you might be, that's information about the.
So you put numbers in and you can wear receipt or wine or the purse, whichever you put.
Here's another one if you want.
We don't want to put it on the radio and have it for wine. You might want to do it.
All right. We have the consent agenda, all consent, this is number 6, consent agenda, all consent agenda items listed are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered to be its normal sequence on the agenda. Information concerning the consent agenda item is available for public review.
I would ask that items number 13 and 14 be pulled from the consent agenda.
That is the annual review of investment policy and annual review of the financial policy. If I understand, we're removing those just because we didn't have some of the information we needed to make it into
Correct.
ample amount
After
of
the
time.
consent agenda, I'd ask that they be tabled until the next meeting.
Okay? So if somebody wants to entertain a motion on, what numbers were those?
13 and 14.
13 and 14.
I have a question. I have just one page I'd like to perhaps have Ben address, and that's the code report for August 2024, if I may.
Sure.
So, Ben, when I see case breakdown by violation, trash and debris, high grass and weeds, now I know that I could have been sleeping when what Mr. Phillips said the city was doing about trees and power lines. And if I was asleep, my apologies to my fellow council members. But I know that just because you see something on Facebook that people believe is happening in the city doesn't always mean it's true. There's a lot of fake news out there, if you will. So please let me know what it is that the city is trying to enforce.
So there is a regulation on trees specifically that they cannot be, I believe it's 15 feet over right of way and 10 feet over a sidewalk. So when they get that notice, it's not for the power lines. They're not responsible for the power lines. It's Encore's responsibility. And typically how that process will go, they will take it down from the power line and then leave the rest for the owner to do. And so that is the notice that they will receive. We will not send out notices with pictures of trees and power lines asking for somebody to cut that.
And the trees are on the property?
On private property, which is their responsibility to maintain. We do assist when the tree is in the middle of the right-of-way. We will not ask a citizen to get out there in the middle of the road. We'll have our public works gentlemen handle that. But as if it's barely in the road and it's more over a sidewalk, we'll ask them to clear it back to their property line to be in compliance.
And that regulation came before this body?
That regulation has been in our ordinances since the early 2010s, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we accept the agenda minus 13 and 14, is that correct?
I'll second that.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
I would ask that items number 13 and 14 from the consent agenda be acted on to be tabled until the next meeting.
Okay, do you need to, can we just add that to that motion, or do we need to have a separate motion?
Be separate.
Okay. You might want to do that.
I'm sorry, yeah, I guess you have.
I'll make a motion that we take items 13 and 14 from this month's agenda and move them until the October meeting agenda.
I'll second it.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Number 7, consider and take any necessary action on the resolution to authorize the city manager to submit funding for the routine airport maintenance program, the RAMP grant. Mr. Brunson?
Yes, sir. First of all, the 2024 ramp grant that we're closing out next week, or maybe by the end of this week, has been done. There's new lights around the runway, and the runway's been opened back up, and we're going to get our reimbursement from TxDOT the next few weeks, so that's completed. The 2025 ramp grant has been approved. There's not a real application process. You just call the regional office and tell them you'd like to have money, $100,000, and they either say yes or no, and they said yes already. So we're getting $100,000 for the airport this year. We're matching it with $11,111, and the airport board has recommended that we do a runway patch where it needs to be patched and a seal coat over the entire runway. And so that's what we're working towards using the money for.
And
Would like
all
to
of that
recognize,
work, go ahead.
Mr. Brunson for taking the initiative to seek this money out. It is a big deal for the airport.
And all of that, any of those projects will have to come before council to spend that money.
That's correct. So this, in the future, there will be bids for this, is that correct?
There will. We have a gentleman out of New Braunfels, Darrell Phillips, that we've used the last 2 years and plan on using this year, and he puts it all together, gets the bids based on city and state requirements, and then we send it out for bid and
That contract will come back to council.
to you, yes.
This resolution also authorizes the city manager to be the signator on that ramp grant as well, doesn't it?
Correct.
Any questions? We just need we need a motion.
Any motion on
Yeah.
that?
Okay, I move that we approve line item 7A as read.
I'll second that.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Number 8 is ordinances. Consider and take any necessary action on the first reading of an ordinance amending the noise ordinance. Mr. Blanchard, are you up again?
Yes, my name is again Mr. Blanchard. I'm wearing my Halloween disguise as Mr. Williams. So planning and zoning had some ambiguosity. We had some questions on the noise ordinance, and so we workshopped the noise ordinance. I didn't see your pack, so I'm hoping it's red lettered amendment in there where we made some measurable numbers from the property line or the properties. We made some changes in the times for loud noises, and they should be in your packet.
Actually, what they're looking at is actually a complete rewrite of that ordinance, so it's not actually a red letter, but I will send out the current, or unless you have copies of it to hand out, the current ordinance, noise ordinance. But the current noise ordinance was completely subjective and unenforceable. So we basically started from scratch and worked with the Plan Commission to come up with what you have in your packet tonight.
So that'll be a complete replacement. That ordinance will be taken out and this one will be put in. This is the first reading of it, so it will come back for a second time in October as well. And we need a
I will make a side note. I've talked to the police department. You'll see in that ordinance that there is an exception where you can get a permit for an event. It currently reads that the police department will issue it. The police department has asked development services to take it on where we can do that. So we just need a motion to amend that in the first reading.
Thank you. I know I've had some citizens call me personally about some of this stuff, and I've talked to Rockdale PD about it, and I'm glad that we put some teeth in it and can make it more enforceable. So thank you for all your work.
And we discovered that
Yeah.
if you have a smartphone, there's an app that you can pull up to see what the noise level is.
Okay.
That's pretty close to what do you call them again, that measures the noise?
Decibel
Yeah,
meter.
yeah.
We include these 18-wheelers that drop it into low gear around 4 a.m. and shake all the windows.
Sir, as a councilman, you can,
Thank you.
So we need a motion on this one.
The first reading, yes, please, but if you have any other questions in regard to what's being proposed.
You need to, yes, also, but in that motion, we need to acknowledge that in the first reading, we're going to go back and change the verbiage to the city hall, not the police department for the
What section was that in, do you know?
issuing permit.
So you're adding who is going to be able to enforce or read?
No, not enforce, issue the permit.
Yes, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the first reading of this with the exception of changing the application process from the police department to City Hall.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Item 8B, consider and take any necessary action on the first reading of an ordinance amending the mobile food vendor ordinance to allow for drive-throughs.
So we workshop, we noticed that we didn't have provision for drive-through window. And so with staff's help, a lot of help, we created provisions where you can have a walk-up window on one side and a drive-through on the other side with specifications for the driving, the number of cars, the distance. You'll see that in your packet on the drive-through side. But this will make it to where you can have walk-up and/or drive-up.
So one of the, Mr. Kelty, I don't believe council has seen the complete food truck ordinance as it sits right now. We've just seen the amendment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So some of the concern that I have is not, with us not seeing that original ordinance, what is mobile? What is temporary? What does that mean? Because part of what this ordinance does talks about the drive lane, how it's constructed, and that sort of thing. And I have a different opinion on that depending on how long something is temporary.
So in your packet, in the packet you have, they did insert that, the current section 1402-051 general requirements and limitations for mobile food vendors. And so it does include the information that you are looking for, where R just says drive-through service for mobile food vendors are prohibited. That's what's being proposed to change. But in here, so your question is how a mobile food vendor is defined?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And what is the term for it to be mobile? I've seen some food trucks that were brought in mobile, and they got really nice grass growing around them at this point, some of them. So that, I don't consider that mobile at that point. So I'm just trying to understand, what does that mean?
It is, and Mr. Blanchard probably can address this better, but it does refer in the ordinance that mobile food vendors must meet all applicable laws regarding mobile food vendors as described in the International Building Code. So those are defined by the International Building Code and the International Fire Code, as the city has adopted and amended.
I also have a question in regards to this. I love food trucks, all that, and I love that we're getting a lot of that here in town. However, I do feel like it can be a potential safety concern, kind of like Mayor Pro Tem is stating. If it's mobile, and from what I read, you have to have specific barriers to protect the building, correct?
Yes.
And if it is mobile, what kind of barriers are going to withstand something hitting it if it's so mobile? Are we talking about a cone? Are we talking about cement? Like, what's really going to protect?
The word we used was bollards.
Right, I read that. And
Yeah.
I was like, what does that really mean?
So.
I mean, that's
are
just
you
a
saying
concern. I don't know if y'all could,
IBC has a code for mobile food trucks?
So, yeah, run a tape back 5 years, and I've been on at P&Z so long, it may be 10 years, but I think about 5 years ago, some mobile food trucks started showing up, and we didn't have an ordinance, and we didn't have permits. And so we crafted the allowance of food trucks in the city. And that's what was there, but times have changed and more people are going to the drive-through, which we didn't have in that ordinance that was created. So this is really, you know what, Ben, that would be a good time.
To answer on what's currently in existence on the ordinance, so there's a checklist on the application. I can send it to each of you at the end of the meeting so you know what it looks like when you want to be a mobile food vendor. It is defined in the building code as a mobile food truck. It's treated as a vehicle almost, where they have to provide insurance for that vehicle. They actually get a permit from the county health department where they'll inspect and they have to meet the food handling side of things, as well as their unit will have to meet their code. Then it comes to us where they have to meet the rest of the code. So there's 2 entities, if not 3, essentially checking these mobile food vendors every year. And so the way the permit works is from the date you apply and get the permit, it is a year. So if somebody wanted to do a drive-through lane, they would have a year until they had to submit another site plan of how they're going to do the lane, if they move, things of that nature. So currently you have the option to move your food vendor truck. Typically nobody does so far. But if you did, you would have to get consent from each property owner that you go to. You'll provide a site plan of how that's going to look. There's restroom agreements in place, things of that nature. So again, I can send you that of what everything's required, but it's a lengthy checklist.
So a year, it sounds like, once you're established, you're good for a year, and then after that, you have to re-up annually.
Yes, and I mean, you can lose your license. Just because you get your license doesn't mean that you get out there and a week later you decide that you're not going to meet city code anymore. There's stipulations where you'll get your license revoked, but yes, every year you come and see my department and you submit the same paperwork you did the year before. And I don't think we have anybody in the audience, but you can reach out to anybody that has an active food truck and they'll tell you the amount of paperwork it is, it's a lot.
And if there are complaints, then they can be re-inspected without notice by the county health department as well.
I have a question. Does a mobile trailer fall into the same category as a mobile truck?
I'd have to get clarification on that from our building official, because he's going to know the IBC a lot better than I will on what those differences are.
Okay.
So I tell you where part of my concern comes from. They're permanent. They can be permanent. And so if we're doing a brick and mortar, we're requiring them to have paved in and out of their facilities and their drive-throughs and everything else. But now, the way this one's currently, the way I understand it's currently written, the mobile guys can have gravel. And so that's kind of counterproductive to what we're trying to do, in my opinion, especially if they're there for a year and then as long as they abide by the health codes and everything else, they can be there for ever and ever and still have a gravel drive. So that's part of my concern.
Yeah, I agree with that. In addition to, for me personally, I see it as a safety concern. If it is a mobile drive up, I don't see why people can't just drive up and get out of their car.
Why they need to drive through?
Why do they need to drive through at that point? I don't know why we would.
I don't know where this came from to begin with.
I mean, I like
So-
drive-throughs, don't get me wrong.
And just to give you where this came from, so at an earlier meeting since I've been here, there was a woman that got up and asked, why they were prohibited, why we didn't allow for drive-throughs in our ordinance. And when Ben researched it, most of the cities that allow for drive-throughs are silent on that. And when they're silent, that would be something that would be allowed. We've gone a little bit farther to say, if they are allowed, we've put these regulations in here to restrict or to regulate them. So we don't have to make this amendment. It was just something that was requested at the public that we look at. And the Plan Commission reviewed it and said that, it might be a good idea. And I think that there was one project that the MDD was working on that might have a drive-through in this type of situation. I don't know if that was what she was referring to or not. But this was based on that. But I would agree, because of the fact that a mobile food truck can become a permanent fixture in the community, And even if a mobile food truck comes in and then moves out, the property owner can then bring another mobile food truck in, potentially to take its place, and you have a kind of a revolving door of mobile food trucks. So having a permanently improved drive for those might be a good idea.
So this is a
Let me tell you,
first reading as well.
make sure you're clear on that. This would fall more under the commercial ordinances for parking, not the residential one that we're having so much fun with right now. There's two separate ordinances, just be clear.
I don't know what you're talking
Regulations.
Me either.
about. Yes, yeah, I understand. And this is the first reading, is that correct?
That is correct. I will say on the permanent, food trucks can become permanent, but when they do, there's usually a year stipulation on that, and I can't remember if it's 5 years or 3 years. They get a lot more requirements put on them by the county. Example, if you're going to have a restroom agreement, you only have so long until that structure becomes permanent, and then you have to install your own restrooms. And so typically when those prices come up, they tend to move. And so the reason we put gravel being allowed is because you currently allow it for them to sit on gravel. So it made sense if you're going to allow the unit to actually sit on gravel to allow that to be an option for the drive-through. That would be temporary for 2 to 3 years if they're a successful business until they move before that stipulation hits that they're going to have to put in their own bathrooms.
So is all of this being driven 100% by the drive-through at the food truck? That's the whole reason we're talking about this tonight.
Exactly. This is just a drive-through amendment. Everything else is staying the same. We just got asked why we don't allow it, and as Tim said, I researched several other communities, and everybody's silent on it. They don't say that it's not allowed, which would mean it is, but they don't provide guidelines. And so the Planning Commission had a concern of, well, what if your drives are the same and you have somebody at the window and then a car pulls up? So we try to add a lot of different items that would make it clear which lane is which, if you're going to do both, or if you're going to do just one, you'd still be putting a sign that would say drive-through only. It'd be improved. It would be an obvious difference from the walk-up lane. And then the other question was a protective measure. We put an example as a bollard to protect the unit. Somebody asked if that may be too permanent, so I'd have to do research on what other options would prevent a car from hitting the unit, where it'd be an obvious sight barrier.
Personally, for me, I think it's too much of a liability for our citizens. For those that are in the mobile truck and those that are walking up to this truck to get food and those on the other side driving, especially for small children. So I'm not comfortable with it.
I don't understand how I've never seen a food truck with a drive-up, to be honest with you. And by the looks of me, you can tell I like food. And
I could use a drive-through right now personally, so it's not anything personal. I just don't think it's worth the liability for our citizens.
So back in the day, when y'all were just twinkles in your parents' eyes, when you went to Rockdale, there was Andy's Restaurant, the City Cafe. You're way too young.
Windmill.
There was nothing to even consider. Fast forward at 50 years, fast forward 50 years, the bigger cities are having food courts and they're having trucks, and people see that and they say that's an opportunity for Rockdale. We don't have that. So we're playing catch up just in creating the first ordinance to allow food trucks or trailers. Mm-hmm. And now we realize, now they've got drive up. So we had to put a plan together to allow or not allow drive up.
I'm maybe misunderstanding, but I understand the safety concerns. But my question is, if we don't approve this, or how does that make things safer? It still seems to me like you have an environment that is more ripe for something happening. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I don't. The safety aspect of it for me doesn't. I don't understand how you're going to be driving so close to a food truck to get up to a window, and where they're parked. It's not generally in an area that has ample amount of room around it to begin with. My holdup is saying, yes, you can do this, but you can only just do it on gravel. When we're trying to get gravel out of the streets and trying to not have this sort of thing happening, and then we're gonna turn right around and say, but you can do it. That's my hiccup, not the, I don't understand the safety aspect of it.
On a first reading, I'm okay with this, but I personally feel that I would want Mr. Williams or one of you guys, or maybe Mr. Kelty, to take me to a place and give me a visual of what we're talking about. I mean,
That was pretty slick. I'll buy you lunch, don't worry.
Hey, I want to go.
Yeah.
So, like I said, first reading, if we want to put a motion together with some, little bit more homework, we can do that.
If you have concerns, you always have the opportunity to kick it back to us to review and address your concerns.
Do you know how our mobile food truck ordinance stacks up to other cities? Not this particular piece of it, but just the parking around them, the availability of space around them. Do they align with?
Yeah, it's a standard ordinance. We stack up pretty similar to everybody around us. The only thing that we differ in is we specifically say drive-throughs are not allowed. Not many other people specifically point that out. But as far as the requirements for registering with county health department, licenses, insurances, all of that's standard.
Well, and I would say, if IBC gives you some rules to play by, IBC is gonna say you have to have a way in and a way out, and signage and bollards and all this stuff. If I had no idea that they addressed that, so if we're making them play by those rules, we shouldn't have any. I mean, that's the building code that we accepted throughout the rest of the city. So why we wouldn't accept it for this particular piece? And it sounds like with all the things that you've put in place, the bollards, the signs, the whatever the pavement they're driving on or gravel is they're driving on, they've got a lot of hoops to jump through just to satisfy that piece of it, much less what they're actually driving on.
Yeah, the IBC is not going to address how to handle the drive-through, but it will give you a definition of what a mobile food vendor is or mobile food unit is. As far as the hoops, yeah, there's a lot of paperwork. If you see anybody with a successful food truck, ask them how long it took them to do their paperwork, because I'll keep it on file for them just to make it easier for them next year so they can see how many hoops they jumped through.
And you said the county says 5 years?
I believe it's 5 years. I had to check with the county, but there's a year stipulation where essentially it'll turn you from temporary to permanent. And once you become permanent, I know restrooms is one of those requirements. I don't know if there was any others, but it gets very expensive to where it almost make more sense to be in an actual structure at that point than to remain mobile.
So then they move next door and they got another 5-year clock? Is that what happens?
Yeah. Yeah, if you move.
All right.
That's a good point about the 1-year permits, though. It gives somebody a chance to go out and inspect the site to issue the permit, and then you find problems. 5 years down the road, a lot of problems can get hidden.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
I mean, if you wanted to have designated zones for food trucks, like a food truck court, you'd have to have grandfather in a couple here already, but like the Chick-fil-A truck that goes to Cameron, they always go to a hard surface area. And as far as mobile food trucks, I'm racking my brain trying to think where I've even seen one. Yes, you'll get your Chick-fil-A sandwich.
They're a pull-up. They're not a drive-through, though. They're a pull-up. And
No, they don't have drive-through. No,
that's
that's the only reason we're talking about it, because it was requested by citizens,
Oh,
and it was an omission that we'd have in our existing ordinance.
gotcha. Well, I'm thankful for those who want to invest in our community, but on this one, I'm out.
Well, it's first reading, so
Okay.
you get another shot at it if you want to let them take another shot at it. But somebody's got to make a motion to give them another shot at it or squash it right now, one of the two.
I wish you'd quit using the word shot. Getting nervous in here. It is just something that we have discovered and we workshopped and presented.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion that we revisit this on the second reading. I'm not sure that we have all the facts and the details that are necessary for making a, completely informed and educated decision on this.
So a motion to let them proceed and bring this back for a second reading?
Yes, sir.
So in that second reading, are there any things that you want specifically addressed? Because they're gonna have to clearly identify what was changed from the first reading to the second reading.
The thing I would like to see addressed is, does the trailer, a food trailer, fall under the same thing as a food truck? I would like to see, kind of like you said, Lynn, are we gonna be looking gravel drive-through? What is gonna prevent us from hitting that building if there's a car that drives through? Like Esmeralda was saying, cement barriers, blocks, whatever we're gonna do. Those are the things I would like to see.
Devil's advocate here, gravel's a pretty loose term too. A yard with a rock in it can be considered a gravel drive. I mean, it's subjective.
Way
Again.
down on our list, we're probably going to have to visit the commercial parking surfaces. We're getting so many new variances and new construction coming in. We're kind of getting behind the eight ball on our workshop stuff. So if you want us to move that up to look at commercial parking surfaces in conjunction with this, we can try.
I don't think our citizens
All
will
right.
be too happy about it. If we're, allowing businesses to do this, however, we're wanting our citizens to pay,
So gravel's only allowed for mobile food vendors, not commercial. There's a difference.
okay, there's a difference.
They are specifically allowed to be on gravel. Your new commercial is required to go with asphalt or similar asphalt products, concrete or grass pavers.
Okay.
But does that change with a drive-through?
So for mobile food vendors, the way it's written is they can do gravel because they're already on gravel. It can be taken out if that's something you want to see. If you wanted them to put something more permanent, more aesthetic down, that can be addressed.
Could it say stabilized base or something like that?
There you go.
You can say it.
I like that.
Anyway, you had a motion.
Got a motion in a second. You've got some homework to do. Where you take another shot at it. Between the first reading and second reading. Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Doug, thanks for that.
Back here. Back to my agenda, sorry. Item 8C. Consider and take any necessary action on the first reading of an ordinance amending the open and outdoor storage regulations. It's got Blanchard beside it.
And I'm gonna hand it off.
Okay, so just a stipulation on this, what's in your packet is gonna change significantly, but the idea of it's not gonna change. And so what I mean by that is I've gotten with the attorney because I wanna make sure that we're clear in what we're asking. So currently, right now, we don't allow for open or outdoor storage of even merchandise for sale for more than 24 hours unless it's enclosed in a roof. So if you can think of Tractor Supply is a good example, that they have that merchandise out for sale in their parking lot. It's not currently allowed. Staff's never received a complaint about it. We've never enforced it. But the Planning Commission would like to acknowledge that and allow it, so that way they are in compliance. So right now, we've line itemed it out as essentially an exemption for any outdoor merchandise for sale or furniture designed for an outdoor use, like picnic tables, things of that nature in commercial areas. I've gotten with the attorney. She doesn't think that's an appropriate way to notate that out, but the idea is going to be the same. So if you're okay with moving forward with this idea for a second reading, you'll see a completely different ordinance amendment that will have the same principles.
Okay. Will the changes that are being made be significant enough that it deserves to be a first reading when that happens? So we need to really table this one and bring it back in October for the first reading after y'all doctor it up the way y'all want to.
I can't tell you how significant it's going to be because she's drafting it right now. So
Okay.
it could be a couple sentences. It could be a whole new section. So it's your discretion. If you think that that's a difference enough to have to see it twice, we can certainly table it for the next meeting.
There's no urgency to getting it taken care of tonight.
So do you need a motion to table?
Yes,
How does that work? Huh?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we table ordinance 8C.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Action items 9A, consider and take any necessary action on on Empire Company sign and construction variances request.
How you doing? Yes, we'll be with Empire Sign Construction, and there's going to be a new Dollar Tree built on your Highway 79. And it's my understanding that your light allowance, as far as the brightness, is rather low. And we're looking to increase that to the standard, Dollar Tree, which is basically in line with everybody else's signs. That is higher than what you normally approve.
So, I don't know, you're with Dollar Tree or you're on the sign
No,
side
I'm
or
the
the
sign
Dollar
company.
Tree sign?
Sign company with Empire.
I would like to entertain changing that for you, but I would like to see if they would entertain possibly meeting us in the middle with some kind of monumental sign instead of a pole sign. The absolute,
That's possible. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying that's not why I'm here, and I don't have any answers to that
Okay.
type of question.
So, the looks of a monumental sign versus a pole sign are dramatically different. We're sitting up here preaching about cleaning up, making things look nice with this, that, and the other. My suggestion would be to let Mr. Blanchard or Mr. Williams or Mr. Kelty, whoever the appropriate person is, to reach back out to Dollar Tree and say, hey, let's work with you on your light variances, but you work with us, hopefully in return, and do a monumental sign versus a pole-mounted sign. Yes, sir.
Hold on.
Sure.
You may have the answer. If we're looking at changing an ordinance, are you wanting us to include the brightness and design of signs?
No, all he's doing, we're not talking about changing the ordinance. All he's talking about is, in consideration of the variance that they're requesting,
Yeah.
make a request of them as well. In exchange for a variance on the brightness, ask them if they would be willing, in exchange for that, to consider a monument sign rather than a pole sign.
One-time variance
Yes.
regarding,
It will be coming back to you, but we're not gonna talk about it tonight, but we're gonna get there with a different sign around town.
Okay, so is that what you would like me to go back and discuss?
Yes, sir. Tim, who is the appropriate, is that you or Mr. Blanchard?
We'll do it. We'll
Okay.
collaborate.
So, I guess we would need a motion that's authorized the city manager and staff to, negotiate for a monument sign in exchange for, some lumens.
I'll
make a motion that we allow the city staff to negotiate the monumental sign in exchange for the lumens on the sign.
I'll second that.
How many lumens are
The only thing I've got here is right now, I guess the ordinance calls out for 200-foot Lamberts, which from what I understand, and I don't know that much about it, but foot Lamberts are kind of used in, for a better lack of terms, Hollywood for, TV shows, movies, that sort of thing. Yeah, me too. So, I mean, that's fine. I have no problem taking everything back. Whatever.
We're absolutely interested in working with y'all and understand y'all's concern. We're in a big push to make things look nicer, and that particular sign would look much nicer than a pole mounted sign.
agree.
So
I interrupted you. You had a motion and a second.
yeah, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, I will get our permit girl to getting back in touch with whoever she's been working with.
I will tell council this is something the Plan Commission will be talking about in regard to our illumination, because of the fact that we currently use foot Lamberts, making some kind of a modification to that ordinance as well at some point in the future.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
That's it. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
9B, consider and take any necessary action on a request from Rockdale Community Market for hot funds for 2024 Vampire Ball held October 25th, 2024. Mr. Kelty, your name is on this one.
Thank you. So last week, we received a application from Georgia Marshall and the Community Market Organization. They are planning an event for October 25th, a Vampire Ball. I believe it's probably a fundraiser for their organization. The Community Market, as you know, holds the market on 79. So they are proposing an event that will allow for up to 75 participants. It's going to be held at the Cardinal Roofing Building on 79. They are expecting 50 to 75 attendees and are projecting 15 to 20 overnight stays as a result of the event. Their total budget that they've identified is $10,750. Of that, they are soliciting donations from the community for its support and have received commitments for that as well. Based on the event's projected overnight stay, staff is recommending up to $3,000, which equates to $150 per overnight stay. Since this is the first year of the event, we're recommending upfront payment of $2,000, and if they meet their goals of additional of 20 hotel stays, of an additional $1,000. And I will just say, to put it in perspective, council just approved hot fund expenditure for the second annual Rocktoberfest for $10,000, which was projecting 50 to 100 overnight stays.
So they're not requesting 5,000, which it says in the.
So they are requesting 5,000,
Staff is recommending.
and I believe that they're here tonight to address council.
Yes.
First of all, thank y'all for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
It
Thank
would've
you
been
for
a hard
having
no if you
us.
weren't.
So we're happy to be here tonight, and it's one of the big things is for us to get our name out to you all as the city council so that you know who we are face to face. My name is Georgia Marshall. I am the chair of the Rockdale Community Market, and I'd like to introduce the rest of the board. We have Deborah Cooper, who is our treasurer, Teresa Lee, who is our secretary, and Ashley Bell Zimmerman, who is our vice chair.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. On behalf of, if I could just read real quick, because I have it all written down and I'm like really shaky, so if I could just read, I'll get it all out. On behalf of myself and our board of directors, I'd like to thank you for allowing us this opportunity to speak with you this evening in regards to our upcoming Vampire Ball. Rockdale Communities Market mission is to enhance the quality of life within our community and to promote continued economical development in Rockdale and to establish and support activities that create a sense of community, social gathering, and foster economic growth. Additionally, we have created a group called the Young Entrepreneurs that are for our youngest community people who are interested in starting their own business. And we are currently developing another group for the challenged individuals called Accessibility. And this will be for the more challenged people who also want to share their abilities with us. As you can see, we are not a farmer's market. It's one thing I want everybody to know. We are not a farmer's market. We don't have the produce yet, but even when we do have the produce, we are a community market because community brings forth the togetherness. We are here asking for the grant of $5,000 from the Hotel Occupancy Fund tax grant. By hosting a vampire ball, sorry, I'm so nervous. Our goal is to build and identify and establish the Vampire Ball as an annual or signature event in the community by encouraging community involvement and participation in the event. Our goal is to attract attention outside our community to encourage new visitors to our market and to our city. Not to mention they can stay overnight that Friday night and go to the market on Sunday morning. They can visit our city's many interesting sites, enjoy local coffee shops, shop our local boutiques, and then stay an extra night and enjoy the booze and brews that the East Bell Tap House is putting on. Thank you for your time and
love it.
consideration.
I love it. First of all, I just want to thank y'all for starting your organization. I know y'all kind of came in when it was a tough time for our community. So first of all, thank y'all for that and taking the initiative to stand up and be active. And I know y'all have done a lot of stuff already. And if I understand this correctly, this is the first time that y'all are coming to us asking for funds. And I like everything that you provided as well. So I'm definitely for it.
Thank you.
Well,
I did have one question though. How much are the tickets?
That's
Oh, is it? I didn't
The
see how-
tickets are $30 a piece
Okay, I
or
didn't see that part.
for two.
50 for a couple.
Okay, I didn't see that part. Okay, great.
so I'm having a little hard time with the economics of it. Because it's between 50 and 75 people at that dollar amount. I don't understand there's nothing left over.
For a fundraiser?
To be a donation back to the market. If
Well,
if
the way
look
I
at
think
your-
that-
Look at your budget plus what you're asking us for, all of that is spent just covering your budget. There's nothing left for a donation.
We are trying to do a fundraiser within that with a silent auction. And we know it may not make us a lot of money, but we're not here necessarily to make a lot of money. We are here for the community market, and we're here I've done the water aerobics free of charge, and we're doing a dance class, which is a workout dance class, free of charge. Everything we do, we want to keep free or not astronomical prices. So that's where that comes in at. We're hoping that we can get some more donations for our silent auction, and then we can make some money that way.
Right, and I've noticed that too in the community that it seems like y'all are not most profitable, but yet you bring the community in.
Absolutely.
And I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. So maybe we should give them 10,000. That way they do have some money.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, and our market is free.
He just shot me, y'all.
With his eyes, huh? I see that. And our market is free. The only time we charge for our market is at our Christmas vendor market. And that's it. And that's just for advertising, again, because we want to keep things as free and as cheap. We also have in the hooks for next year the Krieger bees that came out on Saturday to do a bee thing for us, wanting to do some free bee classes for the community as well. So we're always looking for that type of involvement.
We did free backpacks for the school, for
Yeah.
the children, for back to
Mhm.
school. We coordinated that with the Ladies Auxiliary at the VFW. So, oh, and by the way, we all work free.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
So.
Thank you.
We all volunteer in our community, and it's really more about
It's
helping
beautiful.
small business develop their business. We've already had one of our, food trailers has grown out of our market,
Yes.
and they now have developed and gotten, well, they weren't a food trailer, but they've grown into a food trailer, and they've moved beyond us.
Yep.
Just in the
That's
short
great.
period of time that
Yep.
we've been here.
Yeah, so that's our goal, is to help people do that.
Yeah.
So, one other concern I have when I read this is 50 to 75 people, and we're gonna put 20 hotel rooms up, possibly 20 hotel rooms up. Most of those hotel rooms are more than one person, so that's like over 50% of your people that are attending this, you're banking on them staying in a hotel.
I've
That
already
seems
blocked
high.
10 rooms.
What's that?
I've already blocked 10 rooms.
But if you don't use them, are you gonna pay for them?
I've got people from Dallas, San Antonio, Lockhart. So
And-
my focus
and-
is out of town.
Because historically, what has happened, happens here, is people come to us and say, we're gonna have this many people, we're gonna have this many hotel rooms, and then they don't get it. And
And
then,
you still give them money
and-
next year, don't you?
well, we're breaking that habit.
Good, good.
Well, we'll prove
That has
you.
happened in the past, but
Our,
I understand.
it's stopping.
Okay.
our objective is to meet everything that you've given us, and we want to make it big. We want to make it grand. We want to make it something people want to come to.
We could go bigger this year with the number of attendees, and yes, our budget is significant. And we know that our advertising is high.
Yes.
Mr.
The national,
Helke has already called and asked me about that.
It's like
Yeah.
$24 a head for advertising, you're only charging 30 to get in.
Yes. But again, that just goes back to us being the community market. If this is the way that the council would like us to focus for future, coming to you guys for hot funds, then we could, but we just really want to be there for the community and provide a place for the adults to go. I never got to go to prom or to ball. I'm
telling you,
excited.
I'm not against this at all. But I have been asked questions. I
Sure.
have approved this in the past, and had citizens ask questions for that I can't give them a good answer for.
I understand.
And I don't like that.
I have some of those questions myself.
So
One
our
of the things
budget
council
is,
does need to keep aware is that the hotel occupancy taxes are regulated by the state. We do have to spend them in a specific way. The heads and beds is an important aspect of that. So that is, from an event standpoint, when we fund an event, that is an important aspect of it.
so our budget is over $10,000. From a national standpoint, the average expense for marketing and advertising is 15 to 20%. We chose 18% for our marketing and advertising budget, so $1,800. Yes, it is expensive. Yes, we could increase the number of tickets that we choose to sell. But this is the first year that we've operated this event, and we've already seen, just from the response from people, we could increase the number of tickets, and we've talked about it. But we don't want to let this event get out of control for
Yes.
us to the point where we lose the management of it. We want it to be successful. We want to make sure we can get those heads in beds. We want to make sure that everything we do is on target and that we meet our budget.
And we've purchased two, or a night hotel already also that we're giving away.
I saw that in the, so is this this projected budget is not what you're projecting to spend? Is
We've
that,
already gotten the facilities in kind. We've already gotten.
that's what I was reading back
Yes.
here on the,
Yes.
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 because some of the same things I see as an expense
Yes.
here, I see was a donation.
Yes.
Yes, and
Back
we're not
here.
done with in kind.
Okay.
And I understand what Mayor Pro Tem is saying, because we've struggled with this before. However, I do feel, for this being your first time, you showed up, and in the past, we've had people ask for money and didn't even show up. So thank y'all for taking the time to come. And secondly, you provided most of the stuff that we've asked for, so I commend y'all for that. So
Thank you.
I think it's fair to give y'all a chance.
I think so too.
Thank you.
I would agree with that.
I mean,
When the
it's,
time comes for a vote, I need to recuse myself as my spouse would benefit from this.
Well, I'll make a
Yeah, it says
motion
David
that
Miller.
we give the 2024 Vampire Ball $5,000 out of the hot funds.
That's not what, you're going against what staff recommends? Okay.
yeah. I'll second that.
Got any other discussion? Got a motion and a second? Any other discussion? I'm gonna have some discussion. I'm thinking that we ask the staff to put their recommendation together, and when we go against them, we're kind of cutting their legs out from under them. That's just my
say-
thought, but Mr. Kelty, if
I
you.
mean,
if
I
you-
would say that, this is, I don't have an ego in this regard, so when council, this is entirely a council decision, and I respect that. I based the $3,000 on $150 a person attending, staying in hotels. So we don't generate that much from people that stay in hotels, but this is what this is all about. So that's why, where I came up with the $3,000 was $150 per person. When we looked at Rocktoberfest, it was $133 a person, based on their estimate of, they had 50 to 75, or 50 to 100, so I said 75. That comes out to 133 per stay. So it is, our recommendation is based on the state regulations regarding putting heads in beds, but it is entirely up to council, and it's not something that the state's going to come in and audit necessarily.
And I can appreciate that, especially because we've been burned in the past. Not burned, but I guess events haven't been as successful as they hoped, so it's really not anything personal to them. So I do appreciate that. However, I don't feel like they're asking for much, given the event they're gonna have. So I still feel that I'm comfortable with going ahead and just giving them the $5,000 up front.
I feel the same way, absolutely.
But I mean, I do like what we're starting to do. However, it is their first time, they're prepared, it's $5,000. Maybe I would feel differently about it if it was $10,000 or $20,000 or $100,000. I know we've given bigger amounts for less details before.
Correct.
And a second.
I mean, sorry, I'm just responding to your concerns.
Brad, is it, no?
Concerns?
We got a motion, let's go.
I mean, I see both sides to it here.
Got a motion, and a second on the table. All in favor? Motion carries 4-1 and 1 abstaining. And it's not against the
understand.
organization, it's against staff recommendation.
I understand. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate
Thank
you.
for what
Won't let
you
you
do.
down.
Thank you.
All right. We are on item 9C. Consider and take any necessary action declaring Rockdale Volunteer Fire Department Unit 723 as surplus and authorizing the sale of the unit. This is a fire truck that was originally a grass truck that is kind of obsolete to our department. They have already replaced it with another grass fire truck, and have another unit of some sort in mind. And this one does not get used. It still runs, still a good piece of equipment, just doesn't fit Rockdale's needs anymore. So if we declare it as surplus, the city will sell that and can put any kind of reserves that we want on the sale of that unit. And that money would go back into general fund, or it could be earmarked,
Well,
depending on the
and that's
motion.
one of the questions I would ask council to make as part of your motion. So generally, when an item that is owned by the city is sold, that money will go back into the general fund under just general revenue. When I talked to Chief Matus the other day, he indicated that he was hoping that that money would be able to be set aside for a future fire truck purchase. He thought that we would be able to get around $25,000 for the sale of that vehicle, which, you know, if we put it up for auction, we'll put a reserve price on it. Probably not at 25, but maybe at 18 or something like that, so we know we're gonna be able to sell it. But regardless, if council would like to have that money set aside for that purpose, that would be part of your
For
motion.
it to only be spent on the fire department down the road.
We would put it into a restricted
And
fund.
do we know the history? Is that normally how it's been in the past?
I'm sorry?
Is that how it's normally been in the past? I mean, is somebody run around with?
That's what I
some-
was,
Yeah.
I was
I don't-
told,
I
I don't
don't
know
know if that is-
Roxanne, that's before your time too, isn't it?
When was the last time we?
Selling any equipment, the fire department usually goes back to them, I would imagine, or is that normal, or has that happened since you've been here?
In the very beginning, it was like 4 years ago,
Yeah.
but I think the department kept the funds.
Oftentimes, fire trucks like that, when they are declared surplus and we're replacing it, we'll use it as a trade-in for a new truck.
new one.
So in that, in fact, then does go towards that.
Right.
I don't know what the practice has been here in Rockdale.
Okay.
I'm sorry, for clarification, are you saying that it goes back to the fire department or it's earmarked for the fire department?
It would be earmarked.
Whatever
It would
the
still-
motion
it would
is.
still be-
Whatever the
motion
motion
would be,
says, but historically
It
it's
could go to
gone
the general fund or
back
back
to,
to, it'd be
back
marked
to
for them.
Well, it wouldn't go back to the fire department.
Oh.
It would be reserved for the fire
It would
department.
be like earmarked for
It
them.
would still be held by the city for that purpose, if that's what you so wish to do.
and the only thing, if you earmark it, then it's stuck in there, and we can't use it for an emergency somewhere else.
Gotcha.
If we just recognize that this came in from the fire department sale, so when they come back to us and ask for help buying a new engine, we remember that 25, whatever the sale of this price was, did come back into the general fund at one point or another.
Gotcha.
Can
I
handle it
mean,
either way.
just to give you a number, so a new general engine is gonna run $750,000.
How much?
A quint or a ladder truck is gonna be $1.5 million. So,
Drop in the bucket.
And the other thing to consider is, having an asking price for it, and maybe as a good community, effort, offering it at a little bit lower price to some of the other surrounding
That can't afford it.
that can't afford it, that we call on for help when they're.
First thing I thought was like, what about the Blackjack or?
Blackjack,
those guys?
Minerva, all those guys.
you know, so generally in those types of situations, when I've been in this situation before, cities may donate it to a smaller community that can't afford a truck. I'm not sure how it would work if we would, you know, sell it at a discount based on, because we don't really know what the value is. He thinks it's about $25,000. But at that point, if we were gonna try to do that, that would probably be a donation, but I don't know if there's anybody that has requested that in that regard, but
I've seen some of their other engines, and they would love that.
sure, and it's a grass truck, so.
Well, is that something we want to table until we talk to them?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do they feel about the fire department? Maybe they feel a certain way about,
I know how they feel, is that they don't want to give away an engine and then not have the
funds
money
for it
to
later.
buy another one
oh, gotcha.
at a later date. With that being said, they're, I think every one of them down there is also community oriented, that understands that when Minerva, they need help and they ask for help from Minerva, they would like for them to have something that runs, or Blackjack, or whoever it might be. So they would take that into consideration.
So if you simply wanted to make a motion to declare it surplus, then we could explore all the options in regard to how.
There you go.
Oh, gotcha. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So I'll make a motion that we move this to surplus, this unit? Declare it surplus.
And then we would be authorized to dispose of it legally, and that could be a donation to another agency or selling it at auction and reserving the funding for.
I'll go ahead and
future fire
second that.
Okay, you got all that? All right. We've got a motion and a second, all in favor? Motion carries 6-0. 9D.
We have got to get this one figured out.
Ward runs the meeting, we're out here in 30 minutes, and look at me.
We gotta get done on this O'Kelly Road.
Sorry. Consider and take any necessary action for consideration of the cost of new surface material for O'Kelly Street.
Can you give us a background on it first?
That's what I was gonna say.
I was waiting for that question. Thank you.
How did it get here? How did O'Kelly end up?
All right, thank you. That was the question I was hoping to get. That way we'll all start off on the same foot. About 3.5 years ago, we were needing to do some streets work done, and not targeting anywhere particular in the city. We just had to find a way to get some streets coated and try to bring them up from where they were to a somewhat higher level. So we talked to the county, and we have an interlocal agreement with the county we give them water for free. They pick it up, take it to wherever they need to use it on a county road or at their shop or wherever, and they just give us a count of how many truckloads they take, so we can put it in our water loss audit at the end of the year, or water use audit. For that, we bought a zipper that we take, and it can zip any kind of road except concrete, asphalt, chip seal, gravel, whatever.
What does zipping mean?
Zipping is a grinder that will take the surface about 4 to 5 inches deep, and grind it up. If it's got asphalt on it, the asphalt becomes part of its base. And then we also put in Portland cement, dry Portland cement. Once we get it all mixed up in whatever distance it is on that's about 925 feet. We water it down, and then we roll it. And then we water it and roll it again, water it and roll it again, until we get a good solid surface to put the next layer on. Then the county comes in, and they use their gravel truck and emulsion sprayer and put a coating on the road, and then put gravel over it, and then roll it after that. And that's what we've been doing for 3.5 years. We've done it on a number of streets around town. Hickory twice, Beverly twice, Crockett. There's, I think, like 8 or 9 of them we've done. We usually do 3 or 4 a year. And so there's been some complaints about the dust, but nothing of any major category. Is it the best road? Absolutely not. Is it a real chip seal like some people call chip seal? No, it's not. I found out there are grades of chip sealing, and what was just done to FM 487 from about the bridge south is a chip seal product that's done by like Alpha Paving, and I don't remember the name of that Jim Kramer. James Kramer gave us this afternoon. But it's what the county does is county road chip sealing. And what the FM 487 was done by the state contractor is a little bit higher level. At least it looks better. I had a Alpha Paving gentleman named Austin Polk out here last week, and we went over to O'Kelly, and he said, well, it's not like any chip seal I've ever seen. But I have gone online and found some from Kansas and other places that they actually have videos on there that talk about the different types of streets they use, and they have chip seals on their roads just like what the county does. So it's not different for our county than it is all over the country.
Now, one of the things that's important to understand, when we did O'Kelly the first time, we spent about $4,200 from the city's funds for the materials for that, and the county. So all we're paying for is the materials, and that cost about $4,200. When we came back and did it just a month and a half ago, it was about another $3,200.
Well, we actually have done it 3 times. We put 3 layers on it, so it's gone up since then. But in the video from the town in Kansas, it's 2019, I believe, so we all know things have gone up since then. But they said that the chip seal that they do at that time was like $1.73 per linear foot, and the asphalting was like $22.50 or something like that. So no matter what, the differentiation is gonna still be there today. I don't know if it's $1.72 to 22, but, so that leaves us with what to do. And the options are, number one, to sweep it and leave it the way it is. Second options is to try a emulsion that the county has brought to us, made by a company called Vulcan. Tim and I went to Gauze today and looked at a street they did over there.
The picture that I handed out was from that street up in Gauze.
And it's not.
Yes.
And that was done, this was done about 3.5 or almost 4 years ago.
And then the other option is, I did call, after we got back to the company, well, there's two other options. I called the company, Mr. Newsom, I believe is James Newsom is the name of the gentleman I talked to. And he said that the general number for that would be about $5 a square yard, which that's 925 linear feet. I took about 25 across. I don't think it's any wider than that on that. So we're talking about between $12,000 and $13,000 to put the coating on that they put on out here on FM 487. And then we have the third is Alpha Paving, which quoted us a price to come in here, sweep the road. With the other one, we'd probably have to do that. I'm not sure. He said it would be 3 weeks before he had time to give me a quote, because he's tied up with jobs for the next 2.5 to 3 weeks. And then he would come out here and talk to me about what we had here. So that was a $5 a square yard. Said it was a good price, but he didn't want to quote me anything until he was able to come out here and look at what we had.
So the first one, the Vulcan material, so that's, we buy it from Vulcan, and the county's gonna put it down after we sweep it ourselves?
I have not been involved in that.
Yes.
So that's basically how that works? Okay.
The county would come in and they would put that new material down.
We'd have to rent a sweeper again and go out there and
How much is that?
bucket everything up.
That
much is the
sweeper's
rental
not much.
Not much.
It's,
$1,200 a
like
week?
$1,500 a
Yeah,
week.
That's not much. Yeah. And the top one is getting Alpha, who's a professional that does roads.
That's
To
correct.
come in and sweep it, fix it, get it done.
And get it done.
And then the other one is the other contractor that Steve
Yeah,
had, that did 487 over here.
Well, they haven't gave you a quote yet.
Well, just $5 a square yard is what it gave me. With Alpha Paving, you know, it's a matter of scale also. You know, we're talking about 900 square feet for them to bring their equipment out here, set it up. It's a $5,000 charge just to set their equipment up. And then on top of that, if you were doing all of O'Kelly, then that price goes down because you spread that 5,000 over.
So all of these scenarios are just on the uphill side of O'Kelly, or the hillside of O'Kelly,
Yes, sir.
About 2,933 square yards.
the west end, west side.
So I do believe in a unified council, and so I apologize if I muck things up, but I do represent the east side. And I've heard the complaints, or read the complaints, but I've also driven on that road several times. And the people who live along East Belton would die to have a road that was that nice. As well as roads like San Gabriel and all around the east side of town. And so somehow, with our limited budget, we need to make sure that the comments that we hear, both here and in social media and in conversations, that we don't act as though we are impotent to address our own street issues.
Dave, I can agree with you more. I don't like the east-west. I really don't. I think Rockdale's a whole when you look at it all, 100%. I do. I mean, how they got divided up years ago with us, I don't look at, I mean, somebody on the east side can call me anytime they want to. 100% believe that. But that road got tore up here recently. It's gotten worse trying to fix it.
We took a product and gave them.
They could have just left it how it was and it'd be better than it is now. That's the problem.
That's the problem. That's the only
I promise they go back and say, yeah, let's have it how it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because it just got worse and they're just they're throwing money at it, it's not working. So, totally agree with what you're saying, too.
Different? Did the county use a different rock on this go-round than they used?
On the last go-round, they did go to an unwashed rock. That's the only, to a washed rock. That was the only difference.
The last
We
one's
normally
on
buy, I'm
The
sorry.
last one that's on there, you're saying?
Yes. Yes, the first two were just normal pea gravel, and it crushes and dust comes up, and it's not washed to begin with. The last one was a little bit harder surface and had been washed before we got it.
Okay, I have something to add to this, just to echo on what David is saying. Councilman Melton, I love Rockdale, all of it. However, I live on the east side, and I represent my citizens. I live on Belton Street. My mom lives on Hamilton Street. She's fallen on Hamilton Street because of the potholes. And if you compare the west side between the east side, it's obvious that the east side has a lot more streets that need repair. So I'm advocating one for myself, my mom, my citizens that elected me to be in this position. So I don't have a problem in working on O'Kelly because I know it's a concern and I know citizens are upset about it. However, I'd like to see us say, okay, we're going to put X amount of dollars for O'Kelly, but we're also going to set the same amount for East Side Street.
Well, for the 3.5 years, this is the first road we've done on the west side of town. All of them other have been on the east side.
Tim, can you
Right, but
elaborate
there's a lot
on
more to do on the east side.
Yes, ma'am, no doubt about that.
Because it needs a lot more.
One of the things I have asked staff to do is we are in the process of preparing a citywide analysis of all the streets in the city based on their condition, based on the volume of traffic, based upon the amount of development, and on the type of material that street is constructed out of. And we'll be coming back in the near future, probably in January, with a strategic plan to set out a priority list of streets throughout the city in the recommended order of attack. It is something I've mentioned to a couple of you. In all the cities I've managed, all the citizens always complain about the streets, and this is the first city that I've been in that complaint is significantly legitimate. So we do have a problem.
Yeah, I'm telling you, with my recent knee surgery, I feel every pothole.
Is that a kind of a backhanded compliment?
It is. Acknowledgement of an issue that we have to address. It's going to be a challenge. The fact is the city has been working hard on other infrastructure, water and sewer and drainage, but that is one part of the puzzle that really does need to get addressed.
Yeah.
What is the age of this
That's about, Commissioner Neal said that they did that right after he got in office 4 years ago, so it's almost 4 years old.
And that's $16,000 roughly?
And that one was roughly about $16,000. I don't know about you all, but if you've seen 487 out here, I thought that
I drove it today.
looked really, really
Drive it
good.
every day.
And, one of the things that I had suggested to Councilman Perry was that we go ahead and sweep that street over there on O'Kelly, recognizing that something needs to be done about it, but we come back with a plan of all the streets that need to be addressed, including O'Kelly, and we look at a product that we can make work and maybe do it, try the 487 treatment as a sample and see if we like that. We tried the county's treatment. That's obviously not something that's acceptable, but the fact is, we've been doing it now for 3.5 or 4 years, and it's worked in some areas, and it's an improvement maybe in some areas, but if we're coming back twice in that 5-year period and redoing the street, then that's really not the solution, I don't believe. So that would be my recommendation, either to move forward with the $15,000 or $16,000 expense now, or wait until we have the whole list of streets to recommend to y'all.
How long would it take for you to come up with that list?
I was planning to present that to council at a workshop in January. Generally, chip and seal type products you're going to do when it's hot out. The Vulcan material probably can be done anytime. I haven't asked that question yet.
I mean, I don't know why, maybe we could try this $16,000 Vulcan top coat, see if that works. Kind of as a guinea pig, as saying, hey, we can use this on our other streets, or hey, that didn't work, we're not gonna do that to our other streets.
It would be an option to explore.
Explore it, yeah. Yeah. How do y'all feel about it?
I
I
would
know you
say-
have citizens to answer to, so.
No, I'm not, it's not that. I'm looking at it from a purely construction standpoint. I don't think you keep throwing things and see if it works. Get the right one off the bat. I mean, if it costs more, then it costs more. Otherwise, you're throwing 16,000 away that you have to redo it again. You just threw $16,000 away.
But this one looks good for 16,000.
Well,
Is that
then
not sufficient?
By the time you're throwing it away, that $35,000 price is now
Well,
$47,000.
it could be.
I mean,
Anything you put on top of a road is only as good as what's underneath the road. So if you got mush underneath there, if you got crevices and ruts, not ruts like you would think of as mud, but dimples or divots in the road, anything you put on top is gonna just
You're gonna work through.
resonate right back to the top.
Well,
You're gonna see it again.
I would like to say that the very first street that we did when we got our zipper, in fact, it may have been when they came and showed us how to use the zipper, we did it in cold mix, and that was 3.5 years ago, and it looks like a brand new street still, except for where we've had to cut it for water leaks. But Ramsey is what we did, and Ramsey is good. The zipper does a great job with the base, and I think the guys have known how to use it and are doing a good job. So the base is not the problem in 99.9% of all of this. That's my belief. But if you look at Ramsey, go over there and drive over it today, tomorrow, next day, and it's one right behind the football field.
There you go. I know.
Right, parallel to Murray. And it looks as good now as it did when we laid it down. It's not as dark a color as it was because it's dust and everything on it now, but I think I showed it to him today, and it looks really good. So the zipper does a good job. The guys do a good job of making the base and making it solid. We just have to decide what kind of topping we're gonna put on that and how much money we'll spend.
do we have, where exactly will this money be coming from? Do we have it? Where is it?
We budgeted $70,000, is that correct?
40.
In street maintenance for next
And
year?
the
50.
budget that we just did?
Yes.
So this will use up half of your street budget for
If we do the 35,000.
next year. I thought it was more like 50,000 in the budget, but I maybe.
Roxanne, do you remember? I'm sorry.
But I can pull the budget up.
It's gonna be a significant chunk of the road
Of our budget for the whole year.
for the year.
So the road budget's already gone for this year, is what you're saying?
We're fixing to use half of it and we're 2 weeks in.
No, I'm not for this year, 2020. I'm saying the year we're in.
Oh, did we already use up, you're saying
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We already used up the-
2024?
yeah,
no carryover.
Didn't know we used
So
it.
we'll have to wait till January anyways?
No.
No?
It's,
Okay. We'll just borrow it from somewhere else?
no, we're in a new budget,
Oh, already.
so.
Oh.
I agree, I mean, it's not gonna change anything tonight if we make a decision or next month. When do you think that you will have a comprehensive plan, put together? I say we look at that as a whole. We address it now, sweep it, wash it, whatever we can do to try to minimize the dust, and leave it be until we have a comprehensive plan. And because there's economy to scale here, if we're gonna look at 2 of these roads and we're gonna get Alpha out here, we mobilize them once and do 2 roads if we're gonna do that anyway.
True.
Well, when I said January, I normally will plan a strategic planning retreat and look at all the issues that the city's looking at, not just roads, but that would be part of it. I would imagine that probably by the middle of November, we might be able to have that for council, just to look at the roads, if you wanted to move that forward on the agenda.
So we could have a motion tonight to authorize y'all to go ahead and wash and clean and try to control dust.
Well, you wouldn't need a motion for that. Well,
Don't need
we
one.
can take care of that.
Okay. So we need a motion, do we need a motion at all on this?
Only if you wanted to go forward with one of the processes that were proposed. I mean, in fact, let me just say this, and this is something I was talking to Gerald about. I have authority to spend money up to a certain dollar amount. I was concerned about spending $16,000 or $30,000 on a project of this nature without bringing it to you for authorization.
Well, thank you for that, for considering, only because I believe roads are just a hot topic.
Just because of the fact that it's not clear the direction you would, in my mind, the way you would want to go, so. But yes, we'll get it swept and cleaned up to the best that we can, and then bring recommendations back regarding all of the full inventory and recommendations on all the streets in the city. And the fact is, we can look at other options as well, that if there are other applications of that Vulcan material that are newer, maybe we can visit those sites as well.
Okay.
I think that sounds fair.
So we are not gonna take any action on 9D. 9E, consider and take any necessary action on a reappointment to the Municipal Development District MDD Board of Directors for expiring terms. Expires 9/24. If I understand correctly, you have three positions that are expiring, and all three positions, they have been
They would like to
graciously
be reappointed.
reappointed, and we have nobody that's beating down the door to get in there besides those three.
Not that I'm aware
That's
of.
an easy conversation. Good job, Jim.
Yes,
Bob just got on there though, did he not? A couple months
that is
ago?
correct. He fulfilled a unexpired term that was, yes, very near expiration.
So who are those three, just so we can understand what?
Oh, yeah, you were
Denise
gonna
Denise
ask me
Wallace.
that.
Brian Wallace, Bob Sloboda, that's his name.
I would like to make a recommendation that we take staff's recommendation to reappoint Denise Wallace, Brian Wallace, and Bob Slobod to a new 2-year term at the MDD.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank y'all.
Fast, Jim.
City Council will now convene into executive session under sections 551.072
Fall asleep yet?
of the Texas Government Code. Right. We are back from executive session at 8:20 PM, and there is no action to be taken out of executive session, so this meeting is now adjourned.